So if you don't want to be recorded, unfortunately, you have to leave the meeting or you can turn off your camera, your choice. But in any case, welcome to today's demo. We have some exciting stuff we want to show you today, and it's a continuation of our last demo. The focus today is on digital engineering symbols. We have done some work on the ontology for symbols, and we have also started the development work for visualizing these and making them available in our library. And today, Arne is going to be showing us around the library services. So go ahead, Arne.
Yes, thank you. So welcome back to this demo, basically, where, as Fredrik mentioned, we're doing a continuation of our previous demo. And it should then be no great shock to anybody that we're still talking about the engineering symbol library. So this was how we introduced it 2 weeks ago. We had a link to a very preliminary version of the ontology and an example where it was from, and a quick copy-paste from a text editor. Today, I would like to show you the ontology hosted on the draft environment. It is now clickable, and as we can see here, we got small breadcrumbs indicating what you're going to navigate to. And then you can also navigate to the specific points. You can see the definitions for all of the various parts of the ontology. We don't have any very specific presentation logic for the ontology concepts yet. This is something that we can extend on in the future. So far, this is based on the fact that we're using OWL and shackle. So the target objects of, which is something that is from shackle and points that this is a rule that is about the connection point, doesn't get folded into the regular presentation yet. The download button is here as always, and we can now navigate to the structured representation of the, see if we can zoom in a bit, of the symbol straight from the UI. And the intended audience for this ontology is developers and API developers, information modelers, who are going to do the integration work or to building new tools based on the symbols. Because if you comply to this ontology, all of the authored symbols will be easy to import because they are framed by this. So that's the first part. And the second part is what we then let's see if we can start with what we showed you last week. We had, sorry, I turned the wrong way. This Figma draft, how we wanted the presentation of a symbol to look. And then, thanks to awesome work by my colleague Tora, I can show you this today. Now we're live in the draft environment, and we can look at the symbol. I can zoom a bit. Look at the same symbol that we looked at last time, PV07B, normally open valve. We can toggle on and off the viewing of the connectors. We can toggle on and off the center of rotation. And we can hit the download button. And we can drop it straight back in. And we have the structured data as they were authored by Tora in 2023 when we were working for Equinor. So we've managed to keep the provenance information of where the original data originated. We got a structured representation of the symbol like we originally had at the Equinor libraries. This part here is the visual representation of the symbol. If you've ever had to work with overhead plotter printers or die cutters, this is something that you'll probably recognize. If you haven't, then that's also very much okay. So, who's the intended audience for this? The people we would like to market this part to is the SMEs that are doing the actual modeling of the proposed solution, or SMEs or data modelers who are doing modeling of an existing plant in an existing set of tools. They are the kinds of people and subject matter experts that we want to get input on these collections for. Because if we turn back to the symbol ontology for a bit. Yeah. The people we need input for this on, if this covers the necessary parts and moving bits that we need to cover in order for this to be a portable, reusable standard, that they are the people who are building the various business layer applications that author the different models, diagrams, and so on today. We've got coverage for the things that we thought about, but that's not a comprehensive list. That's where we need input, and we need you guys to put us in connection with them. And then, if we have a look at the symbol, here we need feedback from the SMEs, the people who have very specific opinions about what pieces of information are important about the valve, what pieces of information are important about a centrifugal pump. Are there different pieces of information that are more or less important in different presentation contexts? These are the answers we need. These are the questions we need answers to make sure that we got a good enough coverage in the contents of the symbol library. And this is now ready for consumption and use for especially the DISC participants going forward. And we are hoping to gather some feedback from that group going forward up until December. But we would really like feedback from this group as well. Yeah, that's it for my part for today. Quick and easy. And questions, comments, concerns?
This has serialization structure on a and I think I saw SVG behind it, so I guess it's based on the scalable vector graphic technology and the World Wide Web Consortium philosophy.
Yes, it is. We saw no need to reinvent the wheel when it came to drawing a line and then figuring out what, because drawing the line seems deceptively simple, but then somebody comes with a follow-up question. You've closed the line. Which side of the line is the inside and which is the outside? And then it gets a lot more complex, a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And all of this is basically worked out and decided on in the SVG path data definition. So we're assuming that we can stand on those shoulders, and that will be sufficient.
Yeah. Very good.
Thank you. It was, Thank you for the question. I think it was Mihaly.
Yes, thank you. Actually, I got the answer. So
Okay.
Jan asked the very same. Thanks.
Yeah. And Helge? You're muted.
Oh, no.
Helge, you're muted.
Yeah.
That's you need to have one of these every day just to wake up. I was thinking of this, the size of the symbols. What defines the size, and how do they relate between the different symbols? Because you don't want a big valve and a small pump. So how are they interrelated?
So the unit of measure that we've decided on for all of the positions and the sizes and indeed the path itself is the kind of unintuitive unit of measure px, which is it's very tempting to confuse it with the pixel on your screen. It's related to it, but it's not the same. px is a base unit of measure that is portable between different presentation formats, presentation logic, and screen sizes. And Tore, which isn't attending today, had to do a lot of very, very annoying work because myself and Lawrence made sure that he was unable to deviate from the set sizes or increments of sizes that we decided on, because we need, like you say, in order to ensure that a valve is a consistent size compared to a pump, we got some indications from the Nowaka Dexby symbols. They had a normative statement that said that the pump should be so and so many centimeters by so and so many centimeters when printed on a A4 paper page. And then there was another normative reference about, say, the valve. It should be this big, but also rectangular. Based on the reading on Tonia's work there, Tore has done a meticulous work to ensure that all of the symbols are machine decidable sizes according to each other, and those sizes are according to the work that Tonia did.
Great. Super. One more question.
Yeah.
I see you have different colors on the symbol and the fill color, but aren't the colors on the symbol is not given as black, or can you vary?
The symbol itself, when you download it like this, is without color, but we have to throw it as black in order to actually make something. We didn't have time because it's shockingly complex to do, but in the previous library, we implemented dynamic dark mode, so that when you swapped in the presentation environment that you were running, and you said, I want to run dark mode, you could just pass that as a property to all of your models, and the symbols would flip or invert their own colors. According to some math that my colleague Lawrence found on some UI form, best practice standards to actually dynamically swap between normal presentation and dark mode. And yeah, and we don't want to author a symbol with a given color. We want this to be up to the presentation logic, and we want, like we showed in the disk demo with the broken pump, we want to be able to have a machine reachable feature or a property that we can toggle to indicate that there is something wrong, or you should divert your attention to this symbol using a reachable color property.
Yeah, because the fill in a valve, the valve has a different meaning depending on the fill. And then is the color linked to that fill, or is it just fill or no fill, and then whatever color, it doesn't make any difference?
What you're pointing at now is one of the rather complex things that we did not get a good enough time to dig into. Because, like you point out very correctly, a valve is either normally open or normally shut and closed. So this is the one that is normally closed. In the source library that we worked with, you work with Tonia worked with static images. So in order for Tonia to make both options, she had to make two separate drawings and present one as option something. And we would really like to be able to bake these two into a single symbol, and where we can
toggle.
Toggle or parameterize. That was a very difficult word on Friday afternoon. Parameterize. Features like normally open, normally closed, and so on. So yes, Mihaly.
Yes, maybe another aspect of you asked at the end of the presentation to get some input related what the engineering disciplines needs. Have you considered to look into the different engineering standards? There are a bunch of standards stating symbols in different disciplines, so PNID symbols, SCD symbols, and so on. How do that relate to that work?
When we did this work, we actively looked at PNIDs and the DEXB NOACA symbol library. So that's the starting point for this. We would very much like to look at a standardized set of symbols for SEDs, but we were unable to get around to it when this content was produced. And that's where we really need to get into in which context do you want to represent this valve, because a valve might be represented by a different symbol depending on the kind of diagram you want to draw. And this is work we haven't been able to undertake yet, but it's something we've thought a lot about it, but we haven't been able to follow it through because this was offboarded by Equinor end of 23. And yeah, I think Fredrik had a comment, then it's Olaf, and then Johan.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out too, with respect to your question, Mihail, if you're thinking about specific standards owned by specific organizations too, we want to make use of this platform to give them a channel to publish those standards too. So it's a place where we can create new symbols, but it's also a place where existing standard organizations can publish their symbols to make them available as digital symbols.
Thanks.
Ola?
Yeah, I will just follow up Mihail take up. So NORSOC has a NORSOC standard set of 04, and I know that is an old one that is out of date, but I know there is a community working with updating all these symbols, and I see a huge benefit to be able to cooperate between these two environments. So I think that could be a really good achieve for NORSOC and for the work areas. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the input. That's something we would really, or something I would really like Fredrik to track down. So, Johan?
Yeah, hi. I just wondered, are you making an owl ontology here? It would seem like from the snippets that you show that it's not obviously an owl ontology, but rather an RDF graph that we're looking at.
Yes, it is. Let's see if I can fetch this.
And just to make clear why I'm asking is this would then represent the departure from the received wisdom that that to build a large RDL, you would preferably build that as a modular hierarchy of OWL ontologies. So if you don't have OWL here, then that's interesting.
Sorry, that was the wrong. So in the symbol library, the contents, it declares itself as an OWL ontology, but it's mostly as an organizational bucket for the symbols themselves to declare themselves as a member of. And then we have the engineering symbols ontology, which I can fetch as well. Didn't want to. Okay.
It would be interesting to just see the ontologies it's displayed in Protégé or something similar, you know, just to verify that it works as an ontology.
What you can do, you can navigate to this URL, and if you grab, so right now there is, as you pointed out earlier, there is a discrepancy between the URL and the identifier that it's declaring itself under. That's because we'd like to make the data ready in a disposable environment before we move it to the production environment.
Yeah. But that's not what I'm talking about, actually.
Yeah. So you can curl this URL, and it will get you the turtle file representation of the entire contents of this ontology, and then you can load it into Protégé.
Have you tried that yourself?
We
verify that it works with the OWL API and the infrastructure around ontologies.
The only statements we use from the OWL framework is that the ontology declares itself as a ontology, and then we will use OWL imports to import the upper ontology, and then that's about it. Other than that, we use RDFS, and that has so far been sufficient. The requirements for the symbols themselves, they're written out as shackle, not all restrictions and all requirement classes and so on. So I guess that kind of answers your question, and probably not in the way you would hope, because it's not an OWL ontology in any sense of the word. It doesn't use OWL very much at all.
So is this part of your current strategy to depart to leave ontologies out?
No, not not as a conscious choice. The first iteration of this work was to reintegrate the work that was done in Equinor, and in that work, the ontology itself was represented as a collection of shackle rules for the different classes. We are in no way, shape, or form opposed to reworking it as a well-formed OWL ontology, but we simply haven't gotten around to it yet, and I don't know if it's a priority for the consumers.
Okay, that's interesting. I just tried downloading and by curl with curl as you mentioned, and opening the ontology in Protégé, but then not surprisingly, no symbols appear as individuals in this ontology.
I'm gonna jump in here. I think this is a really interesting discussion, and I think we should continue it. But we only have 4 minutes left, and I see that Jan has another question too. So I think we need to move on.
It was more a reply to Mihaly and Olaf's question. Ulrik from Equinor is a part of the activity that we will shape in the DISC cooperation going forward. So he will be involved in also bringing information from the NORSOK library to the library we are building here.
Where do you see to use actually on the symbols? What kind of context? Probably not in a PNID diagram to creating a PNID, right? So it's some kind of application context.
Yeah, we would explicitly like to be able to remove ourselves from the PNID diagram. We want to keep the PNID, but we want to drop the diagram because it's our opinion, and this is an opinion, that the on and off page connector is useful when the only way you have to communicate the process and information is via a static picture. Bixby has a structured data model backing it, and then it has a picture on the side. We would like to be able to use the structured data only, because that lets us meld two models that are about the same facility seamlessly. And by then filtering based on what kinds of equipment do I want to see? I want to see things that are connected from this one and outwards. We can let people dig into specifics of the model without having to juggle 20 PDFs.
Okay, so you can actually draw up a topological structure of the equipments without being a PNID drawing.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. All right.
Yeah.
I see. Thanks.
We've actually demonstrated this in 2 different sessions. 3. The Equinor Developer Conference in Stavanger in 2022, the Show and Tell in 23, and then again in the Show and Tell in 24. And I'm guessing we're going to do something related to it again this year.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Per-Olaf.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was just wondering, I was trying to find a symbol for a valve or pump, so trying to search, but there's no descriptive information, but for the symbol, enumeration names, so to say. Is there a plan to extend that to something?
Good question. The fact that you're bringing it up means that we have to look into it. So, to put it that way.
Yeah, because
So we need to.
I don't know these codes, so I wouldn't then be able to find the right symbol in any way for this.
I think that means then that we'll have to do something to enable people that don't know the labels to find the correct symbols.
Yeah, because now you would only be able to find the reference information when you know exactly what you want. So there's no learning capability in this presentation.
I think these namings were based on one of the earlier drafts of the ENS that was intended to be used for the NOAKA DEXB.
Yeah.
So if you know or have access to that ENS, I guess it could make sense for you, but
yeah, but there should be some descriptive text. I mean, help for the helpless.
PP001A doesn't say a thing to most people.
No, I completely agree. And refining the contents of the data set as we go forward is likely going to be a priority. But if it's going to be a priority and when, you're going to have to take up with Fredrik. Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all.
And,
Great to see it in here.
Yep.
mm,
Very.
have a good weekend, and thank you for all your very stimulating questions and wonderful feedback as always. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for the demo, Anna.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.